All right, let's talk about something huge today: how you can crack the code on those massive challenges you're facing, whether it's in your studies, your career, or, well, anywhere else. We're going to show you how to take that tangled mess of confusion and stress and turn it into a clear, simple blueprint for success. You know that feeling, right? When you're staring at a completely blank page for your final thesis and you've got mountains of research to get through. Or maybe you're looking at the job market trying to figure out your future from what feels like a dozen confusing paths. That feeling of being totally swamped, it's something we all go through. It's just paralyzing. You've got all this potential, all these ideas swimming in your head, but the sheer size of the task can stop you dead in your tracks before you even type a single word. And hey, that feeling doesn't just magically disappear after graduation. It can feel like you've been dropped in the middle of a new city with no map, no street signs, and no idea which way to go. So yeah, you've got the blank page, you've got the confusing career map. It all just feels like pure unstructured chaos. But what if I told you there's a hidden order to all of that madness? A pattern you can actually use to your advantage? Because here's the secret. Beneath the surface of any overwhelming task, there is a blueprint. A set of rules, a structure that can turn a mountain of complexity into a series of small, manageable steps. The trick isn't trying to avoid the chaos, it's learning how to see the blueprint hidden inside of it. And once you can do that, well, you can start building. So let's start where a lot of you are right now: research. Because whether you're working on a literature review or a massive grant proposal, there are proven blueprints that separate the projects that succeed from the ones that, never even get off the ground. This right here completely demystifies a huge task like a lit review. It's not about just randomly finding papers online. It's a structured, methodical process. You start with a super clear question. Then you set your own rules: what's in, what's out. After that, you search systematically, not just in one place. And finally, you're totally transparent about how you did it all. That's the blueprint for work that's credible and that other people can actually build on. And think of a grant proposal like a blueprint for telling a great story. The best ones are super persuasive. They start with a hook. Here's the problem, here's the gap. Then they clearly explain the what and the why of the research. They lay out a few distinct aims. And notice, they should be independent, so if one thing goes wrong, the whole project doesn't collapse. And then they end with a big payoff. Why is this going to be amazing? It's literally a narrative blueprint. Okay, now let's take that same idea and zoom out from an academic project to the grand project of your entire career. It might seem even more chaotic, but trust me, there are blueprints here too that can guide your journey. It turns out pretty much any professional field, whether it's tech or marketing or medicine, can be broken down into these core competency realms, like you're seeing here. So instead of a jumbled mess of job titles, you start to see the fundamental building blocks. Your first step is just to find this map for your field. What are the core skills you actually need to build? And once you have that map of what skills matter, you can start to chart a course. A lot of careers follow a pretty predictable path. They often start over on the left side with really deep, specialized technical skills. And then over time, they tend to move to the right, towards broader, more strategic roles that are about managing people and complexity. So what does moving up on that map actually mean? It's not just about a fancier title. Real, meaningful growth is about gaining more autonomy, going from being closely supervised to having a real authority. It means your circle of influence gets bigger, and it means you get better at handling more and more complexity, shifting away from routine stuff to solving messy, unstructured problems. But look, these blueprints aren't just academic exercises. Out in the real world, failing to understand or even just stress test your blueprint can be the difference between incredible success and catastrophic failure. In the world we live in today, there's a new variable you have to factor into every single blueprint: the velocity of risk. It's not just about if something can go wrong anymore, it's about how fast it can go wrong. A crisis that used to take weeks to unfold can now explode in a matter of hours. And as we're about to see, ignoring that speed can be absolutely fatal. This is a perfect and, honestly, a terrifying example. Silicon Valley Bank had a risk blueprint, but it was dangerously flawed. Their models, their stress tests, they all planned for slow, gradual changes, but what they got was a sudden, rapid shock. They built their plans on the assumption that their customers' money was sticky, that it would stay put. But what they got was a bank run fueled by viral social media panic that happened in hours, not days. Their blueprint completely failed to account for velocity. And here's the thing: a blueprint is completely useless if no one follows it. At Credit Suisse, the risk managers, the people whose job it was to watch the blueprint, they flagged a massive problem. But they were overruled by business units who were just chasing short-term profits. The culture literally broke the blueprint. It just goes to show you that no plan, no matter how brilliant it is, can survive a culture that chooses to ignore it. So, we've looked at blueprints for research, for our careers, and for massive, high-stakes failures. What's the common thread through all of this? Let's try to distill it all down into a universal toolkit that you can apply to any challenge you face.
Okay, here it is, your universal blueprint kit. Whatever the challenge is, start with why. Get super clear on your question or your mission. Then, map the territory. Break the KOS down into its core pieces. Next, tell a compelling story and get to the most important point right away. Then, and this is huge, stress test for failure. Don't ask, will this work? Ask, what would it take to completely break this? And finally, build in some resilience. Make your steps independent so that one little setback doesn't bring the whole thing crashing down.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. The world is complex, for sure, but it isn't random. The structures, the patterns, they're all there if you just know how to look for them. From your next paper to your entire career path, these blueprints exist to help you turn that chaos into clarity. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?